Hello, my name is John Browett, and I'm the General Manager of the CC-Link Partner Association in Europe. Thank you for coming to our virtual press conference at SPS Connect today. This virtual press conference is to announce that Analog Devices Incorporated, ADI, has joined the board of the CC-Link Partner Association. So we have a panel of 3 speakers today. First of all, we're going to have Thomas J. Burke, who's the CLPA's Global Strategic Advisor, and he's going to provide the background from the CLPA side about what ADI joining the CLPA's board will mean for the CLPA, ADI, and the industry in general. Tom will then be followed by Brendan O'Dowd, who is the General Manager of Industrial Automation at ADI. Brendan will provide more details of ADI's motivation for joining the CLPA's board and what the 2 organizations hope to achieve together. Our final speaker today will be Jordan Woods. Jordan is the Strategic Technologist for Industrial Ethernet at ADI, and he will wrap up the proceedings with a technology perspective. We'll then end the press conference having a question and answer session, so please feel free to submit your written questions to us as we go along, and we'll answer them at the end. I'll now hand things over to Thomas. Over to you, Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about the very important announcement that we have between the CC-Link Partner Association and Analog Devices. Analog Devices has been working closely with CLPA, helping develop the necessary technology for the foundation of interoperability for the digital transformation and Industry 4.0. This year celebrates our 20-year anniversary, and it's really a welcome addition to have Analog Devices join the board of directors of CLPA as part of our 20-year anniversary. The foundation and the technology of what we've been doing has been well adopted, and the millions of devices that we have installed in the field of CLPA is a testimonial to the global nature of the organization and the sustainability that we have. And Analog Devices will be crucial to really helping drive the vision of CLPA over the next 20 years. Analog Devices has joined the board of directors of CLPA to help us with the vision, technical, and marketing necessary to achieve the total interoperability of the CC-Link organization and what we are doing with the various technology. CLPA is a global organization, and Analog Devices is a global company. Working together between Analog Devices and CLPA will allow us to achieve international recognition for moving our technology forward, allowing best-of-breed applications to truly be able to consume devices and consume data from disconnected devices on the factory floor. CLPA initially provided the technology of what's known as CC-Link Industrial Ethernet, CC-Link IE. CC-Link IE provides the necessary technology that really allows us to do safety and motion control applications, and most importantly, the ability to have data being able to be consumed from different devices to multiple tiers of applications in the hierarchy necessary for the digital transformation. 2 years ago, we made an announcement about CC-Link IE-TSN technology and releasing this technology, which really stands for the ability to allow multiple networks to run on the same physical wire. So whether it's the industrial Ethernet application or it's consumer industrial and consumer Ethernet, they all can run on the same physical wire. Analog Devices will help us by adopting the technology, and they are releasing products that support the IE-TSN technology. CLPA provides the best specifications, technology, and conformance necessary to help our end users and suppliers develop products and use the products in actual deployment to really achieve the digital transformation and truly be able to take data and turn it into information as we really talk about the importance of the IT to OT convergence. CLPA is also proud to announce that we've co-authored a white paper with Analog Devices. This white paper is called Time-Sensitive Networking, the Case for Action Now, and it provides an in-depth analysis of what the technology is and why it is crucial, really, to create smart factories, focusing on the potential of TSN, all of the governing standards, and how it's evolving, and what it really means for businesses interested in the technology. And again, the cooperation that we've had with Analog Devices and how influential that Analog Devices will be really helping drive the vision of CLPA. I'm very excited to have Analog Devices join the board of directors of CLPA, and we will continue to work with them essentially to do the necessary things, driving the vision, the technology, and all the marketing aspects of the CLPA organization on a global basis. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Brendan O'Dowd from Analog Devices, and he's going to talk about the importance of the technology and why Analog Devices has joined the CLPA Board of Directors.
Thank you, Tom. Analog Devices does business in many application markets such as communications, medical, automotive, and industrial. And the communications business is an important part of many of these industries. Industrial communications in particular is something that Analog Devices has been involved in for many years. Over this time, the technology used in this communication have evolved. Industrial Ethernet is not new, but time-sensitive networking brings new features and new capabilities, and Analog Devices has been engaged with this from the very start. TSN is only getting started in the market, and we are proud to be joined the CLPA as board members. This is a standard that links well with our technology and roadmap. This is something that will enable the evolution to go even faster. And now I'll pass over to Jordan to talk about some of the details.
Thank you, Brendan. I thought that I would chime in a little bit with an overview of the vision of the smart factory, how TSN and technologies like CC-Link, i.e. TSN, figure into that. Before I do that, I have to provide a disclaimer. This presentation should be considered my personal views and not as a formal position, explanation, or interpretation of IEEE. What I want to talk about is the smart factory. And if you look at the diagram on the left, the smart factory has traditionally been hierarchical. We know this. It's got a variety of communication protocols floating around in it. Towards the right of the diagram, you see the vision of the smart factory, which is when everything, sort of can talk to everything, right? That's sort of the magic vision. The reality will probably fall somewhere in between. But when you look at the smart factory in terms of the goals, being able to maximize uptime and quality across these globally diverse locations, being able to flexibly manufacture small SKUs of similar but different products. The example I constantly hear used is the SKU of one, right? I'm making a sneaker and it's customized, for instance. When you consider those goals, what they all boil down to is that suppliers of industrial automation systems and their customers are starting to understand the value of the data they're generating in their factory. And this data has effectively become a commodity. It's become something that they can use to offset their costs, a way to minimize their costs. And as such, flexible data access becomes critical. And that's where technologies like TSN come in, where TSN gives us that common layer 2, right? That common wire, so that all of these protocols can share the wire together, right? So we get that converged network vision. The next logical step is the middleware. So this is where protocols like CC-Link, i.e. TSN, are going to be so important. They're going to give us the communication piece that we need to realize this vision. I think there's a couple things that are important to understand in this regard. So the first one is, from a hardware perspective, from a layer 2 perspective, the standards that are going to affect silicon are largely done. We have a pretty good feature set. I have a colleague in IEEE who's fond of saying, I hope we're never done, right? That we keep improving the technology. But from an industrial use case standpoint, we've got a solid set of tools to give us determinism over the wire and meet the industrial use case. So what needs to happen next is that ecosystem needs to build up. And when I speak of ecosystem, I'm speaking of a management ecosystem. So there's lots of standardization work going on around Yang and protocols for doing management. I'm speaking of a security ecosystem. What does security look like in this new open world? And then, of course, I'm speaking of this middleware, the CC-Link, i.e. TSN. I think the other important thing to understand is this vision isn't going to occur overnight, right? Vendors are going to start with what they know. They're going to start with the management techniques they're using. They're going to start with the network partitioning that they're using. They're going to incrementally introduce TSN into their networks. And the advantage of technologies like CC-Link IE TSN is not only do we get benefits from TSN, quickly, but to learn from those deployments how we can even better leverage it and move towards that vision on the right. So that's what I wanted to cover. Thank you for listening. And now we're going to move on to a Q&A session with the panel.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to Tom, Jordan, and Brendan.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Brendan and Jordan. And thank all the attendees really for joining our press conference today. So this is an exciting thing with the TSN technology, and I've been quoted to talk about how it's a game-changing technology and, really the importance of what we've done with TSN from a CLPA perspective, leveraging the TSN technology with CC-Link IE TSN, and the fact that it's going to run on the same physical wire, which is really a significant benefit for the end users. And I've heard a lot from the end users, and I've heard a lot from the suppliers that this really is one of the key things that they've really found is very important, right? It's reliability, it's performance, and as Jordan mentioned, the whole concept of the smart factory and really doing IT to OT convergence and this whole thing about the digital transformation really is so important. We got a couple questions related to conformance, and we do have conformance built into the CLPA solution basically. So we do validate the interoperability of all of the products based on the CLPA technology. So it's really what I wanted to add. And it's exciting to have Analog Devices join the organization as a board member. And I've had the opportunity to know Jordan and Brendan over a period of time. The direction of CLPA and having the right companies on the board of directors really helps us with the whole vision of achieving the digital transformation. So that's really the important thing with respect to that. So I encourage you to ask questions. I'm excited about this TSN white paper that we co-authored with Analog Devices. It's available and really talks about a lot of the vision of what TSN is, how CC-Link IE TSN is, and how it rolls into the digital transformation. And then, I'm going to be doing a lot more co-authored white papers and basically about a lot of different technology. People who know my background know that I've got a lot of things that I want to go do from a thought leadership perspective. And, joining CLPA is easy. I mean, you can join the organization and actually you can become a registered member of the organization, different than most trade organizations because we don't charge a fee if you want to become a registered member. You can get access to all the specifications through that thing. Obviously, we want to go build products based on the technology. There's a fee associated with that. But one of the things is from all the organizations I've worked with over the years, CLPA has one of the lowest fees for membership in our organization. So it's very interesting and really a driving technology.
Thanks for those comments, Tom. The first question coming in from the audience is, what is the status of CC-Link IE TSN solutions in the field at the moment? Basically, what we're seeing right now is, as Tom mentioned earlier, the specifications for CC-Link IE TSN were released exactly 2 years ago at SPS in 2018. And since that time, we've been working steadily with various different leading vendors in the industry to offer products. If you actually go back to the press release that we put out at the launch, there was a lot of different companies, several dozen companies, in fact, who announced an intention to develop CC-Link IE TSN products. We're now actively working with many of those companies to get those products to market. We're also building out the development ecosystem on that too, so that companies will be able to choose from solutions like companies like ADI and so on to actually build their products with. But as far as actually products that are available right now to install and use in systems, that the leader on that at the moment is Mitsubishi Electric. They are another board member of the CLPA, and they announced almost immediately that there was going to be over 100 different products introduced from them that would support CC-Link IE TSN, and they pretty much followed through on that now. If we had been able to be in Nuremberg for real this week, we would have been showing a selection of those products like we did last year. There's definitely several dozen products available from Mitsubishi, and that's building all the time. We expect to see that go over the 100 if it hasn't done already. Another example of that actually is just in the last week or two, they introduced a new series of inverters, the E800 series, that all support CC-Link IE TSN. So that's another example of how committed they are to supporting the network. What is the performance boost of TSN for CC-Link compared to standard CC-Link IE? It's difficult to give a completely fixed answer to that, because it's going to depend on some variables like the size of the system and the number of stations and the amount of data being handled and all that kind of stuff. But the general rule is that we can offer quite a significant performance boost over CC-Link IE itself, because CC-Link IE used a token passing method to ensure determinism. That meant that basically each station took in turns one by one to communicate on the network. So although while it was still pretty high performance, compared to CC-Link IE TSN, which is using the TSN technology to have simultaneous communications on the network, what this means is you can actually have everybody basically talking at the same time. So this means that you don't have to wait for your turn, as it were. You can all talk at once, because of the way TSN enables these kind of things, offers a fairly good performance boost compared to what we had before. We look at figures of about 31.25 microseconds for network update times for motion control applications and so on. So yeah, there's a pretty significant ability to increase the performance there.
John, if I can chime in on that, perhaps looking at the performance boost is sort of the wrong way to look at what it brings, okay? What it really brings is standardized Ethernet to the factory, which means sharing the wire. And a use case I'll describe is while an industrial Ethernet protocol like CC-Link IE might be the ideal way to do, let's say, solve a motion control problem, it may not be the ideal way you use to get your sensor data up to the cloud, right? Now we have a common layer 2. So what that produces is economies of scale in silicon. It produces better usability, uptime in the factory, right? And perhaps most importantly, it produces scalability for Ethernet. And by scalability, I'm talking about port counts and bandwidth, right? Not every piece of silicon is a custom piece of silicon. You get those economies of scales, but you also get all the benefits that have made standards-based Ethernet one of the most ubiquitous communication mediums in the history of mankind.
Thanks, Jordan. Another question coming in. Where is the UK in the adoption of TSN compared with other nations? That's a good question. Certainly, a lot of the activity on TSN, I guess a lot of that originally came out of the United States. Jordan could answer that part better than me. We're seeing TSN being adopted globally right now. The CLPA is headquartered in Japan, and that's where we started, but now we've become a global organization. We work pretty closely with our partner colleagues across the world, companies like Mitsubishi and other board members like Balluff and ADI now and so on. I would say that, you know, in Britain in general, we're seeing quite a lot of interest in TSN. You know, our colleagues at Mitsubishi Electric, they have a range of TSN compatible products, CC-Link IE TSN, I should say. And I know they're in the initial stages now of promoting their solutions to the market. So I think, you know, they're getting a pretty good reception for that. I would say the appeal of TSN in the UK is probably similar to what it is in other countries of Europe and around the world. Certainly in Germany as well, and other countries of Europe, we're also seeing quite a lot of interest in it too, as I was mentioning earlier. We've got an ongoing dialogue with many of our partner companies around Europe. They're all in various stages of investigating TSN and implementing it and so on. So yeah, we're seeing a pretty good interest in it right now. And I think, you know, as a final point, the automation industry in general, I think probably where TSN now is probably a little bit like Industry 4.0 was a few years ago. In the beginning, we went through sort of like the buzzword phase where people were thinking, oh yeah, what's this Industry 4.0? Do we need to think about it? Do we need to do it? And so on. And after a couple of years, people realized, no, this is a real thing and we need to do it. And I think TSN has gone through a similar kind of adoption curve. In the beginning, maybe people were wondering what it was about and if it was important or not. And I think now we've certainly seen over the past year or two, certainly since we introduced our technology, that people are starting to warm up to the idea and starting to see the reason why they need to do it, and they're starting to get on board with it.
If you're from the UK and you know where Aberdeen is, I've been invited to go, and it's like, I don't want to go there in January because it's cold and wet and freezing, and I've been there before, but there's a lot of opportunities in the oil and gas, and I've been working with the oil and gas industry for a while, and the pharmaceutical and the packaging and the machine tools, right? And there's a lot of different interest in basically using the technology from an end user perspective. Obviously in the US, I've been working real closely with the packaging industry and basically also the automotive. And they're both recognizing, oh, this is exactly what we needed, Tom, because the fact is, Jordan said, it's standardized, right? It's standard commercial, off the shelf Ethernet in their perspective that allows all these different things and all these disparate devices to be connected. So in the UK, for example, oil and gas is a big opportunity up in Aberdeen, and they're talking about using it. I've got a lot of interest in it. There's an initiative basically for the pharmaceutical. They're all recognizing, looking at this solves our problem of helping us get data from a lot of these different devices. And then ultimately with everything we talk about, the edge and the cloud and the whole digital transformation, we can take this data and make it useful information. So I look at CC-Link IETSN as being a foundation element, basically providing all the cool technology and all the cool feature functionality that enables the digital transformation. This is the big thing. And the fact that it runs on a single Ethernet is standardized is very important. So anyway.
Are there any challenges in industrial real-time control that CC-Link needs to address? Does TSN provide a solution?
There are obviously many challenges in industrial control, but what I will say is that these are problems that industry knows how to solve, right? These are problems we've solved in a proprietary way for over a decade. Again, when you ask if TSN brings a solution, that isn't really the way I look at it. What TSN brings is an expansion, if you will. Additional capability that isn't ubiquitously available in the factory today, and that's this ability for protocols to share the wire. And the reason that is so important ultimately is you need to get data out of the factory, and you need to process it and make decisions based upon it. And what this does is it provides not just a common transport mechanism, a common layer 2, right? It also provides a common management model, so the deployment of these factories is well understood in advance. You can produce simulation models of it, like the so-called digital twin, and then the ability to extract that data, to address that data directly, as opposed to having to separately configure a gateway or things of that nature, brings a lot of value. So to me, that's the way to look at the benefit. Is this, again, the key to TSN and Industry 4.0 is access to data, and the key to data access is convergence.
Thanks very much, Jordan. Just to comment on that too, Tom mentioned in his section about the white paper that we've written along with ADI. And I think that's probably one of the key points that comes out of the white paper, that convergence is really like what you could describe as the killer app, if you like, for TSN. It's, as Jordan said, it's the thing that allows everybody to work together on the same network and then deliver a lot of benefits that way. Everybody who's participating today will actually get a copy of that white paper as well. We'll be distributing the press materials afterwards as a virtual press pack. There's one final question that's come in. Which products and services do you offer around TSN, and especially CC-Link IETSN?
Yeah, thanks, John. ADI offers a full range of products between PHYs, switches, and protocol stacks. And that, supporting multi-protocol industrial Ethernet flavors has been an important part of our strategy for the last while. And the Kronos industrial Ethernet range of solutions is where you should go for information on those.
Great. just to finish up, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. It's great to, in quote marks, see you all. I'm hoping we can all get together to have face-to-face meetings at some point in the near future. If any of you would like to have one-on-one meetings with any of us, we'd be happy to arrange that. I know we typically do that at the Fair for Real. So with that, I'd just like to thank the panel, thank the attendees once again. Let's hope we can meet face-to-face sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And again, as John said, we're happy to do one-on-one sessions with any of you. And feel free, if you have some questions that you think about later on, just email me and we'll get back to you quickly. Thanks again. All right. And enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.